Hi, this is Gary Kelly with the Real Talk Podcast. I'm with Castanet Realty Group, and I am joined by the always debonair Brad Aragon from Fairway Always Independent Mortgage.
Gary, every time you introduce me, you always pause right after Brad Aragon, and I jump right in, and I always step on your introduction every time.
Well, because
Thank
I'm
you,
trying to pull
Gary.
up the,
Happy to be here.
I'm playing on the word independent and trying to see what different phrase I can use there. So, Brad, I know you have 3 children, and I know you've got multiple dogs in the family. And I know that you've got grandchildren running around now. And one of the things that always impressed me about you was when you talked about your kids and what you told them about buying a home and how to set aside money so that they could, in my words, do a test fit on not having that money available. I thought it was simple. I thought it was creative. And I think it's wonderful. You want to walk through what that is?
Sure, Gary. Thank you for that. I appreciate that compliment. It is always interesting to me. So, growing up with me as your father and having the financial discipline and experience that I have, you're going to get that download. So I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse to my kids. But in any case, I did tell my kids, and I actually do use it with my first time home buyers as well. And what that is when I go through the pre-approval process with folks and we figure out roughly what that number is going to be to get a home that they think they might like, I say, well, listen, great news. We have a rough number. And usually that number's higher up than they've paid up to this point, right? It's above their rent, or if they are living at home, it's way above what they've been paying.
Right.
I say, let's do this. For the next 3 to 6 months, or however long it takes you to find a property, I want you every month on the first of the month to take that money out of your checking and savings and put it into another account. Just like you're paying either rent, but in this case, just like you're going to pay on a mortgage. And I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that. And I want you to experience what it's like, because not only are you going to have that, but you're going to have some utilities and stuff. So you want to make sure you got some money left over afterwards. That may mean changing your lifestyle a little bit. Maybe you're not going to go out for dinner as often. Maybe you're not going to go to get coffees, out every day. You'll be bringing your coffee from home. But you have an opportunity here to kind of take this thing for a test drive before you buy it. And so by doing that, they're able to put that money aside. That money can then be used, number one, because they've segmented it for down payment to help them with down payment and closing costs. But more importantly, they've gotten used to what that monthly obligation is going to be like. So it serves the twofold purpose. On top of that, they've still maintained their own liquidity. They still have control of that money. So it's not like they've spent it. They've just gotten prepared to be able to purchase a home. So when they do make that purchase, the transition is much easier from a stressful standpoint, from a mind standpoint, and actually from a financial standpoint. They may have changed their habits in order to get to a place where they're comfortable making that payment.
Brad, you bring up one of the things that I think is just so fascinating, and that's the way people can save some money, set it aside, and rein in their expenses. I happen to go to a diner in the morning and I have diner coffee. It's fine. If it's a weekend, I might go through the drive-through at McDonald's and get Newman's Own coffee, which I like iced coffee. I happen to think it's pretty good, whatever. And I always get a big one because it'll last me actually a couple of days if I need it. It always amazes me, the people that go through Starbucks and they'll spend, $9-10 for a drink. And then they say, I've got no way to save money. And, you're looking at $2-3 versus 9 or 10. That's an immediate savings to the bottom line. And I don't think it changes your lifestyle.
It doesn't in a drastic way, but what's funny is people don't know what they don't know. And so when you're making a paycheck and you have X for expenses and you have this much left over, you're like, well, that's my discretionary money. I can do with it what I want. I can go, out to restaurants every night. I can go and get my coffee at Starbucks and get whatever I want. But when you set a different agenda, when you set a higher priority, like, okay, someday I would like to own a home,
Right.
you know, well, what does that mean? Can I live that lifestyle that I've had up to this point? Maybe yes, maybe no. And if so, what am I willing to give up to get this other thing that's more important to me? And those are critical decisions that people can make in advance before they jump into owning a home and all of a sudden have these expenses. Say, I'm in a house now, I'm drowning in that. Nobody wants that. You don't want that. I don't want that for my clients. If they're able to do that in advance and really set that agenda, that's great. If they decide Starbucks is more important than a home, good. we learn that quickly, right? That's all fun.
What I find fascinating as a father and a grandfather myself is no one really understands. You can read about it, but no one understands what the cost of a child is. Okay? Child arrives, everyone's happy, everyone runs around, mazel tov, great. And then you got to start buying diapers. You have to start buying formula. You have to get this prescription. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, that's real money.
Absolutely.
It can be, as I understand it, last number I saw, I don't know, Brad, you probably have more of a finger on the pulse. It's like $250,000 to have a child today.
It's crazy, insane. It's so expensive to have a kid and to have a child and to be able to raise them. And then, one of the things that's changed from, over the years is a lot of times it's really important to have two people in the workforce, which means now you've got to talking about daycare. You're talking about all these other factors that come into play. Those can be very, very high. So you want to, again, that's part of the pre-approval process. I don't let it get into people's lives, but I'll ask them, is one party planning on leaving the workforce anytime soon? Because if the answer is yes to that question, the last thing that I want to do is rely on two incomes coming in, and one party's going to leave in 6 months to a year, and then, oh, well, now we're drowning in our house because we're just down on one income. I'd rather say to them, let's work off of one income to start with so that you're comfortable with that.
Exactly. I remember back in the dark ages. Now, this is, we're talking ages ago. It cost me every penny that my then wife brought in to pay for the daycare. And at some point you say, is that really a good expenditure of money? Perhaps my wife should stay home, be with the children. And there's a whole nother series of discussions that go on about careers and social activities beyond children, stuff like that. But having a child costs a small fortune. It just does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those are important conversations to have, early on, right? Things that never, as I said, earlier, people don't know what they don't know. So you have to kind of ask those important probing questions, not to be a nosy person, but to really set people on a good path for where they're going to be happy, where they're going to be able to raise their children and not be going to bed every night stressed out to the max.
I tell people I am their priest of house buying. Okay, tell me everything, but I also say Brad is your priest of the financial part. So with due respect, I don't want to hear all their stuff. Okay, I'm not trying to be harsh, not trying to be cruel, but I can't do anything with it. That's where you come in. Same as buying a house. You don't particularly care that they went and looked at 5 houses over the weekend. You're empathetic to it, but it doesn't matter.
No, and the other good part is I get excited about it. I mean, this is something that for me is setting people on a path to success personally for me, for as young people, because unfortunately it's not something that's taught in the school system. People aren't born with the knowledge of, okay, this is how finances work. And so a lot of times, especially first time home buyers, they come to me. Oftentimes they don't have a system in place, how they're paying their bills and, whatever the case may be. So setting them on that right course is really important to me personally.
Brad, how does someone reach you if they want to talk more about this?
Best way to reach me is via my cell, Gary, which is 978-375-5531, or via email at brad@bradabergon.com.
Great. Thank you, Brad. Look forward to chatting with you more.
Thanks, Gary.